Hi guys, how are we doing? And welcome to episode 3 of my podcast. I'm actually not even sure what I've called this podcast yet. I did write it up as the Transform Collective originally, but I think I should just stick with something basically self-titled. The Aaron Snee Show, or I thought about POV with Aaron Snee. I'm not really sure, so it may change. I will record episode 3 of the podcast without a name for now. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to break through weight loss plateaus, which is very important for a lot of people. And a lot of people were that hammered in diet culture with calorie deficit that when people get stuck, when people have been on a prolonged calorie deficit for 12, 16, 20 weeks, whatever length of time, but a lengthy period of time, there will come a point where your fatigue's really high, you're really tired, your food's really low, the weight loss is slowing up, your sleep's affected. All these things will happen. Now, that's just down to your metabolism slowing up. It doesn't grind to a halt. It's called adaptive thermogenesis. It slows up. It down-regulates by about 10%. So people's automatic reaction when they're in that situation is to push harder, is to remove more calories, is to do more exercise. I've been there myself many times. And what happens there is you just set yourself up for binges, set yourself up for injury, or set yourself up for just going, fuck this. Like, I'm not doing it anymore. You set yourself up for injury if you push more exercise anyway. So diet breaks, refeeds work as well. So refeed could be like one day of purposely eating more food. That's more of a psychological break. So refeeds could work as well, just give you that wee day's break, and that, but as I say, it's more of a psychological break, and it allows you to the next day then go, or a couple of days later, get back to it, and it refreshes your mind kind of thing. But from a metabolism point of view, one day that's not really going to do much in terms of resetting hunger hormones and things like that, resetting satiety hormones and hunger signalling and things like that. You would normally need a diet break, which is a week or two at maintenance calories. It's not a week or two of eating whatever you want. You can eat some of what you want, but it's a week or two at maintenance calories to give your body a break, to give your body a break both psychologically and physiologically. So it allows certain hormonal things to regulate and to do with hunger signalling, satiety signalling, and your metabolism. And it gives you a psychological break as well. And it also allows you a period of practicing how to maintain your new weight. Because a lot of people just swing from being on a diet to not being on a diet, to being on a diet, to watching what they eat, to not watching what they eat. And they just swing back and forward. And there's never a thought of, right, I'm going to maintain my weight. And I think that's what, I've said it before, people don't have a weight loss issue. Just about every single person on the planet has successfully lost weight at some time or another. What people have an issue with is maintaining the weight that they have lost. So people have a weight maintenance issue. It's not a weight loss issue. Kind of going off on a tangent here. But when you get stuck, you could implement something like a diet break. You could start with refeeds a period of 1 or 2 days, and it might just be psychologically enough for you to go back into it. But if it is at the point where your body's fighting back and no wanting to sort of drop to any lower weights, then a diet break could work. Now what you do with the diet break, as I say, is a couple of weeks at maintenance calories, and then you go back into your diet. So there is science behind this. This isn't just sort of made up. So one study I'll touch on is the Matador study, which was done with 2 groups of people. One done intermittent dieting, not to be confused with intermittent fasting. It's a different thing. So one group of men done intermittent dieting, where they dieted for a couple of weeks and then they had a couple of weeks at maintenance calories, and they rotated back and forward between these 2 states. And the other group were just on a set calorie deficit for, I think it was 16 weeks. So as I've said, the diet breaks work on sort of almost resetting your metabolism. It allows you, as I've said, metabolic adaptation. When you're on a prolonged diet for however long, 6, 12, 18 weeks, eventually it's called adaptive thermogenesis. Eventually your body will slow down, your metabolism will slow down, but it's only by about 10% or so. People say about starvation, your body's going into starvation mode and things. That's a myth, but it does down-regulate, it does slow down. So the thinking is, on periods of overfeeding or periods of higher food, it allows your metabolism to go, allows your brain to go, right, I'm not getting starved, because body fat's there as a defence mechanism. It's been stored there when you've taken extra energy, and it's stored as fat tissue for when your body needs it. If your body thinks it's getting starved, it'll start to slow things down to try and conserve this energy, to try and keep a hold of what's keeping you alive. So you basically give yourself a couple of weeks of eating at maintenance, relaxing a bit, maybe even pull, if you're doing a lot of activity or you're doing a lot of cardio, a lot of training, maybe pull the cardio down and things. And then this allows your brain to go, right, like I'm not getting starved anymore, so I could speed things up again. And then when you go back into your calorie deficit phase a couple of weeks later, then your body's sort of primed, set up, ready to start dropping weight again. That's kind of the premise behind it. I'll touch on as well diet breaks for when people are on GLP-1 medications, because I think there's a misconception around people when they use a GLP-1 that does all the work for them. Now, being overweight, being obese, whatever, that is a lifestyle issue, and it's got to be lifestyle factors that address it. So whether you're on a GLP-1 medication or whether you're not on a GLP-1 medication, the way in which you lose body fat is exactly the same. You take exactly the same steps for long-term success. If you don't and just starve it off, as I've said before, you're setting yourself up for issues, health issues, and failure, and to gain the weight back. Anyway, I'll also touch on practical implications when and how to sort of implement the diet breaks, which I kind of already have done. I'll cover that again. So what are diet breaks and how do they work? Right, so as I've said, definition of a diet break is a planned period of eating at maintenance calories after sustained calorie restriction. It is not a free-for-all cheat week because it's a structured diet break. It is still 90% whole foods. You'll still maybe have your one-off plan, two-off plan meals, whatever you want to do in that week, your two social occasions. So it's not eating what you want for the second you open your eyes to the second you close your eyes at night. It's not eating what you want all day, every day. It's a structured period at maintenance calories to allow your body to have a break from the hard diet, and it's done. When you think about what's going on in your body during weight loss, or during anything, when you're trying to gain muscle, when you're trying to gain strength, all these things are adaptations to stress. So you're putting stress on your body in the form of taking in less energy than it needs to burn off the energy that's stored, i.e. body fat. Over time, the stress will build and build and build. You will be losing the weight, but over time, your body will slow things down because of the stress. So it's really, these refeeds and diet breaks are really a 2-week period of de-stressing and allowing your body to go, right, allowing your body to go, right, I'm not getting starved, I'm not getting running at the ground, I could let some body fat go. So when you go back into your diet phase again, things start moving. As you see, the difference between a refeed and a diet break, a refeed is 1 to 2 days of higher calories, mostly carbohydrates. It's normally carbohydrates that you'll manipulate up and down. And then your diet break's 1 to 2 weeks of the same thing at maintenance heating. Refeeds, again, they will help reset some of this metabolic adaptation that's going on slightly, but there's evidence to say that if it's below 36 hours, you're not really getting much. It's more psychological. So, but again, they still serve a purpose, because when you have been in that period of watching what you eat and low energy and that constant period of grinding through a diet, then a day or two off or a day or two with extra food does help your brain a lot, and it allows you to knuckle back down on a Monday. What I find as well is the 1 or 2 day refeeds is you feel pretty shit. Because you've been used to eating lower food, lower calories, and you've been used to eating good, I hate the term clean food, but you've been used to eating good, nutritious, whole food 90% of the time, when you do eat something off plan, Chinese, pizza, whatever, you feel pretty shit. So again, it gets that out your system. It's like, right, I enjoyed the time not thinking about my diet, but I didn't really enjoy what I ate because it made us feel pissed. So, but it's still good for that psychological break. It's still, and it allows you to go, right, well, I didn't feel that great, so I'll knuckle down on Monday. I'll start again on Monday. That's the difference between a refeed and a diet break. A refeed's 1 to 2 days, normally a higher carbs, and a diet break is 1 to 2 weeks of eating at maintenance. So the purpose of the diet breaks, as I'm saying it, is it's to minimise metabolic slowdown, prevent hunger and cravings from spiraling out of control, because when you're in these periods of prolonged dieting, your cravings start to build, your hunger starts to build, and I've been there before. Sometimes the wheels just come off and you binge. What I'm doing with people now is to really try and prevent binge eating episodes, because it's something I've really struggled with in the past. I notice when I start binging, I'll start with maybe one thing I'm not meant to eat or I hadn't a plan to eat, and I'll turn into 2 things. But I notice when a binge is what happen, because the speed I start to eat it picks up as well, almost like it becomes a gorge. I'm not enjoying the food, I'm just trying to throw food in, trying to throw as many calories in my mouth as I can, and it's really not an enjoyable way to go about your food either. So this, having sort of strategic diet breaks prevents your mind from breaking and just going on a free-for-all binge, and implementing these diet breaks in will improve long-term adherence as well. So the study I'm going to reference, we'll start that again. So the science behind it, the study I'm going to speak about is called the Matador study. The Matador study stands for Minimizing Adaptive Thermogenesis and Deactivating Obesity Rebound. That's what the Matador's an acronym for. It's one of the most well-known studies on diet breaks, and as I touched on at the start, it took 2 groups of overweight men. Group 1, it gave them continuous calorie restriction, and Group 2, it gave them intermittent dieting. It's not to be confused with intermittent fasting, as I say. So a period of 2 weeks dieting, a period of 2 weeks at maintenance, and rotated back and forward. I think it was for 16 weeks. I never took the note down. But over the period of the 16 weeks, the group that done the intermittent dieting, so the 2 weeks in a calorie deficit, 2 weeks at maintenance, and rotated back and forward, they actually lost more fat than being a continuous calorie deficit. They preserved more lean muscle tissue, and they had less metabolic adaptation as well. So the key takeaway from that is that eating more strategically can improve your long-term fat loss results. It's that hammered into and that ingrained into in diet culture that it's got to be all or nothing. It's got to be like starving for a whole year to get into shape, and it, like, if you're not pushing hard, you're not working hard enough, and like all these things get stuck in my head as well, and it's hard to get away from that thinking and to do it strategically. But this stuff works, 100% works. There has been studies since then that kind of refutes what's going on in this study, but that's the beauty of studies. You can find studies to pretty much back up anything. As I've said before, it's called confirmation bias. If you dig deep enough, you're going to find studies to support your argument. But with this, in terms of application in the real world, it does work. It definitely does work. So, moving swiftly on. So why diet breaks work on your metabolism and hunger? So, as I've said, the problem with continuous long-term calorie restriction is adaptive thermogenesis. It's your body slowing down your metabolism only by about 10%. It doesn't switch it off like some people say, but it's only about 10%. But your body will slow down its metabolic rate. You also end up with dysregulated hormones, your ghrelin and leptin. They're your hunger and satiety hormones. They end up sort of all out of whack when you're in long-term calorie restriction as well. The longer you are in a caloric deficit, the more chance you have got of the longer you are in a calorie deficit, the more chance you've got of losing lean mass. So holding on to lean muscle tissue is of extreme importance while you are dieting, because muscle is metabolically active tissue and it keeps your metabolic rate high. You do not want to lose muscle at all. It's kind of impossible not to lose some muscle tissue during the course of a diet, but you must be doing everything in your power to try and hold on to muscle tissue. So what diet breaks do is they temporarily increase your metabolism. Because you've increased your food, your body then starts to upregulate the metabolism. Again, adaptive thermogenesis. It starts to upregulate your metabolism and allow it to start ticking over a bit faster. It'll help balance out these dysregulated hormones, ghrelin and leptin, which are satiety signals for your brain. And it'll allow you to start getting better performance in the gym again as well. So it also reduces fatigue as well. A 2-week period with a higher food intake, I'll give your body more energy and it'll reduce fatigue. So all these things over a 2-week period, you just feel better, and then you're psychologically and physiologically refreshed and ready to go again on the following Monday, whenever it's planned for. When you go back into your calorie deficit, your physiology, your metabolism and everything's reset, and your mind's reset as well because you've had that break, so you're ready to kind of push on again for the next bout of fat loss. So diet breaks for those on GLP-1 medications, whether you're on Mounjaro, Ozempic or Wegovy, any of them. Whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, the laws of fat loss remain the same. So that tends to be what I do with clients. I'll start them off. If I've got clients using a GLP-1, normally at the start they really struggle to eat a lot of food, so we just start with an aggressive calorie deficit. Normally, and not in every case, but normally weight will just steadily fall off them for 6, 8, 12 weeks, whatever, but eventually there will come a time where that starts to slow up. And the automatic reaction is, right, I need to increase my dose, I need to starve even more. That's the wrong thing to do. It's the absolute wrong thing to do. What you need to do when you've hit that plateau is enjoy the weight loss to begin with, enjoy these big jumps on the scales. But once you hit that plateau, you need to then start thinking about your nutrition strategically, because it doesn't matter what dose of this drug, whatever drug it is you're using, it doesn't matter what dose you're on. The biggest thing that is doing is slowing digestion and controlling your appetite. So when you're at the point where your body's struggling to lose weight further, then increasing your dose and starving even more is probably going to be, it'll be more detrimental in the long term. It'll be worse for you. So at that point, what to do is have a 2-week diet break. 2 weeks, recalculate whoever you're working with, get them to recalculate your calories, move you up to maintenance calories for 2 weeks, and then go back in probably a more sensible calorie deficit this time around, because at the start your appetite is pretty much gone. But the further you get along, your ability to eat comes back, and the appetite suppressing effects aren't as drastic, I would say, as they are in the start. So again, the laws of metabolism stay the same. So it's still going to do all the same things in that period of a 2-week diet break. It'll allow your metabolism to regulate, and it'll allow you to get a wee psychological break as well. And if you've been used to the scales coming down and down and down and down, it'll probably be a bit of a shock to the system and see that slowing up. But a healthy rate of weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds a week. I call it the slimming world effect, that people are conditioned to believe that they should be losing £5, £7, £9 a week. And if they don't, they're doing something wrong. I've seen it with these drugs. It can happen and they begin with £5, £4 a week for the first few weeks. But inevitably that's going to slow up. And a healthy rate of fat loss is a couple of pounds a week anyway. That's if you're doing everything right and you're seeing the scales coming down a kilo or so a week, that's perfect anyway. So yeah, whether you're on a GLP-1 medication or not, lifestyle change is key. It's key to long-term success. So all these things, they still matter. They should still be adhered to if you want to be successful long-term and at some point manage to come off the medication altogether. So, practical application, how and when to implement a diet break. So, in the beginning, you could probably diet for months, especially if you're on the heavier end and have a lot of weight to lose. You could probably diet for months before you really need to do this. But once you've dieted to a point, you will probably need to do it more often. So every maybe 4 to 8 weeks. I have just actually started a diet break this week, and I'm going to run that for 2 weeks. And I'm getting about 6 weeks now out my diet before the scales start to sort of slow up and my fatigue and my sleep and everything, that starts to happen, and sort of all these adaptations start to happen. I'm getting about 6 weeks before I need a diet break, or didn't need, before I decide to have a diet break. But every 4 to 8 weeks. But sort of, if you're experiencing plateaus in your weight loss, if you've got extreme fatigue, extreme hunger, if you're struggling to sleep at night, these are all telltale signs that you're pushing too hard or you've been pushing too long, and you maybe need a wee diet break just to let your mind and body chill a bit before you go back into it. So how to implement it correctly? You increase your calories up to maintenance calories. So get a calorie calculating tool, or get somebody to help you do it for you. If you want me to do it for you, reach out, drop us a message, and I'll help you. I'll help talk you through it. So increase your calories to maintenance. So that is the amount of calories you need to maintain your current weight. That's what maintenance calories means. You want your protein intake to be sufficient to maintain muscle mass. Your protein intake should be sufficient anyway to maintain muscle mass, but make sure that's set within your calories. And as I say, make sure it's set maintenance, not a surplus. You don't want to be over your calories to maintain your current body weight. And then, simple as that, you track your calories, or whatever method you're using, whether you're using meal plans or tracking calories or whatever, you just make sure you're sticking to that for that 2 weeks. You'll still get your couple of meals out, your couple of social occasions or whatever you do at the weekends, and then you go back to after 2 weeks. A lot of this, I've said before that I think a lot of dieting is psychological, and it's one of the reasons that I'm a fan of the GLP-1 drugs, to be honest, because for me anyway, food is a lot to do with food and food intake and food choices. For me, is psychological, and the GLP-1s help curb that. But anyway, GLP-1s aside, all this type of stuff, your diet breaks, your refeeds, a lot of it really helps with your long-term adherence, and helps from a psychology standpoint. If you know you're getting a couple of weeks break every 6 to 8 weeks, then that allows you to sort of go, right, I'll dig deep for 6 to 8 weeks. I know I've got this sort of period of relaxing a bit coming up, and people don't tend to think like that. People just tend to think they're either on a diet or they're off a diet, or they need to lose weight for a special occasion, a wedding, whatever. Then that wedding comes and then they'll write them off a diet again or whatever. Whereas if you've got things like this planned into your long-term strategy, then you could keep making progress year round. You could keep making progress year round the way it should be, instead of just swinging from on a diet to off a diet, etc. So, closing points, key message: dieting isn't about suffering indefinitely. I know a lot of people associate fat loss with suffering. I know I do as well, especially when it comes to cardio, and I kind of get that round my head, that the more you do is sometimes counterproductive, and I've always got to rein myself in from that. And I see it all the time in people, that they think that the more they starve, the better results they'll get. I'm starting to see it a lot online as well with the GLP-1s. People seem to think they're starving themselves a way forward, when it's not, because muscle tissue, bone mineral density, you compromise all that type of thing. So whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, it is dangerous to overdo the diet to the point of starvation. So dieting for long-term success, it's not about how much you can suffer. I think it's almost glamorized in the bodybuilding world as well, like that it's about how much you can suffer. And you see people on Instagram going, I'm going to war with this set, and I'm like, you're not going to war, you're in the gym, lifting weights, you're definitely not going to war. So I think all this kind of all or nothing mentality is portrayed too much in the fitness industry, that people think when they do start something, it is about suffering, when It's not long term. You should be going through periods of pushing and pulling. Push hard for a few weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, pull back, let your mind, your body rest, and then go again. That's the way a long-term fat loss plan should be organised. It shouldn't be a case of just push until your mind can't hack it anymore and you go, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, the Matador study basically proves with the science that this stuff does work. There is other studies that have kind of refuted what's went on in that, but that happens with science. But in real world application, this stuff does work. 100% works. And so for GLP-1 users, whether that's Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, any of them, the rules stay the same. The rules of fat loss stay exactly the same. It's just that your appetite is dampened a little, the food noise is dampened a little, so it should make the dieting process a bit easier. But when your body adapts, you need to do things to try and get around that. And diet breaks and things are good for you psychologically anyway. There's nothing wrong with implementing them anyway, even if you don't really feel the need to. If you've made a lot of progress and you just want 2 weeks off, take it and then go again. So yeah, fat loss is about sustainability, but it's not really, because you're not meant to just keep losing fat forever. But if you've got a lot of weight to lose, it's about getting there as comfortably as possible, because if you do it the whole time with suffering, you'll not want to do it again. You'll never want to put yourself through weight loss again, because you've just had to suffer for 6 months straight to get to your desired goal. And then that is when you go completely the opposite way and you go, I'm never doing that again. I see it all the time with people as well. People diet for a holiday or whatever, and they're on silly low calories and they can't sustain it. So when they get home or a wedding or whatever, when that special occasion's done, they think, I'm not doing that again. And then they stop training until the next thing comes up. They stop training and stop eating well till the next thing comes up. And then year on year, they just get heavier and heavier and heavier. So yeah, that's that. Diet breaks in a nutshell. So diet breaks and refeeds, they're both good for you, serve a slightly different purpose. Refeeds are more psychological than diet breaks. Diet breaks do serve a metabolic and physiological purpose, but they both help you get to where you're going and help you with your long-term strategy. If you have found any of this helpful, hit me up on my socials, drop me a DM if you need help with nutrition, performance, GLP-1s, or anything like that. Thank you very much for listening to me, guys, and I will see you on the next episode. I'll maybe hear a name from a podcast by that time, but maybe not. Cheers, guys. See ya. Bye.